Good morning, folks. We come to our Wednesday devotional, and we want to look at verses 2 to 4 of Psalm 36. And what we have in these verses are the practical outworkings of the heart attitude that we were thinking about in verse 1. You remember in verse 1, the psalmist says of the wicked, there is no dread of God before his eyes. And because the person in view here doesn't have any fear of God, the psalmist goes on to describe how such a person behaves. He says he thinks his iniquity will not be found out or hated. Basically, he thinks either there is nothing inherently wrong in what he's doing, or even if in some people's eyes or in the eyes of society in general, what he does is viewed as wrong, he thinks he will not be caught and he will not be punished for his actions, for the way he's living. And isn't that exactly how so many people think today in relation to how they behave? Think of the man, the woman who meet secretly in a hotel room or wherever to engage in an adulterous affair. No one knows except them. Their spouses are completely oblivious to what's going on. None of their friends know. They are the only ones privy to their behaviour. Their iniquity will not be found out, they think. And so they will not be punished. There will be no consequences. Think of the person who carries out a murder or carries out a bomb attack, be they a terrorist or a disaffected spouse or relative who has a major grudge against some relative and they want to punish them. They think, I'll get away with it. No punishment. Certainly don't believe they're going to be punished eternally in hell by some God for what they've done. What's their attitude? Their iniquity will not be found out. How different the attitude of Joseph. You remember how Potiphar's wife tried to seduce Joseph. There were only the two of them in the room. No one would have known. No one would have found out. But what did Joseph say? How can I do this thing and sin against God? Joseph knew that God was there. He would be aware of what was happening. He had a healthy dread of God. You see in the next verse that when you don't have a dread of God, then you don't worry about lying or deceiving people. The words of his mouth are falsehood and deceit. So the person who has no dread of God thinks nothing of telling lies or deceiving with a view to their own benefit. So what if what I say isn't true? As long as my well-being, my good is promoted, that's all that matters. The person who is giving evidence in a court case and who deliberately lies in order to save their own skin, or deliberately lies in order to get the outcome that favours them on their case. Think of the politicians who lie almost every time their lips move in order that they might keep their seat in Parliament or keep their place at the cabinet table in Downing Street. Think of the young person who lies to their parents so that they will not have to suffer any consequences for their wrongdoing. The words of their mouth are falsehood and deceit. Why? Because they do not dread God. And then also in verse 3 we see that this person has abandoned acting wisely and doing good. In other words, they've lost all worthwhile objectives, totally committed to the practicing of sin. Even while they lie in their bed at night, verse 4, they are planning evil that they intend to carry out. One writer puts it well when he says, this person does not drift into evil ways, rather they pursue evil by purposeful design. He sets himself in a way that is not good. He does not reject evil. He sets himself purposeful, designed wickedness. Brethren, how these verses sum up so many of the people around us. Now, obviously, there are degrees in the sins of the people around us. But these verses show us what a life is really like when a person loses the fear, the dread of God. We should be praying for such people and seeking as much as we are able to win such souls for Christ. And also, we should nurture within ourselves a healthy fear of God, a fear of God that will enable us to shun sin and to seek righteousness. May God grant blessing to you today. Amen.